going on, YouTube? We back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about what is controls and why I think it's a good field for people. In this video, I'm gonna be very basic. I'm not really gonna go into detail of different things that you need to learn and all this. I'm gonna just give you the basic knowledge of how you could maybe break into the field and some things that you should maybe be learning. Just, so you can have your eyes out for this, and if this is something that you might be interested in, you could go further in depth with it. And maybe I'll make a more in-depth video on certain topics. So first of all, what is controls? To me, controls is you're controlling different processes, you're automating different things, whether that be with automation, like with different programs, different sensors, and of course you have wiring when it comes to that programming and everything like that. And that's why it can kind of get confusing when people ask, like, what do you do? A lot of times I just catch myself saying, yeah, I'm an electrician, because I don't feel like going into detail of exactly what all controls is and the automation side of things and everything like that. But for me, how I got into the field, I got into the field by doing an apprenticeship. And before I go into depth with that, I will say you do not necessarily have to go to school to work in controls. That is just false. You could be a maintenance tech and just show interest that you want to get into it, and you have somebody that you can just work under. Because for me, the apprenticeship helped a lot because I was able to work while also getting to school in the background as well. So I'll probably advance a little bit faster than someone who just learned from somebody. But if you always have the choice of either learning from someone on the job versus learning from somebody from a teacher in a controlled classroom setting, it's always going to be better to learn on the job day to day. A job that you might get is like a maintenance tech, working as a maintenance tech. I did that for about 2 years. I hated it. Well, I didn't hate it, but I knew I didn't want to do it long term. I will say that. And that's not where the money is at in the manufacturing area. So working in maintenance, I was always being told, you should really think about controls. You should really think about controls as the next step. And so that's what I did. I started my next job after I left the maintenance tech job, and I started as an electromechanical technician. And that allowed me to learn. And this was just working at a factory, day-to-day maintenance, but it was more on the electrical side and the control side. And also we would have different projects that we would set up, doing maybe some programming a little bit and also some wiring, and it allowed me to learn more there. And through that, I was able to learn really at that job, I learned more about wiring, troubleshooting, and what all it takes to control a process. But when you're working in a plant environment, a lot of times these things get contracted out on the bigger projects. So you just take what you can learn, and you can learn a lot that way. And that's what I did. So I kept building my skills up there, and that allowed me to get this job that I have now as a controls tech. But I'm traveling and all this, and all I do is new installs. I have some troubleshooting when a customer calls, but most of the time I'm in the office. I'm programming, I'm setting up HMIs, I'm developing new systems for whatever the customer might want. So everyone is going to be a little bit different. You never know what it's going to look like from day to day instead of that manufacturing environment. So the first thing, if you're trying to get into controls and kind of follow the pathway I did, you don't have to go to school, like I said, but you want to learn that wiring and stuff really good, or get that background knowledge, because if you don't have that, you're never going to understand the programming side at all, because it's going to be like, oh, I'm doing this, but I don't understand why this is working. You got to understand basic electricity first. So getting that, whether it's through school, whether it's through YouTube, whatever it might be, really hone in on learning electrical. Then you will maybe advance into more programming side. That can be Allen Bradley, Siemens, Mitsubishi. Learn you one really good. And if you're in America, I really recommend Allen Bradley with a little bit of Siemens, because that's what you'll see mainly here. And then you can broaden out as you go. And then as you go to different companies, you might say, hey, I really need to learn Mitsubishi. Maybe that entails you paying for a $3,000 course. I know that sounds like a lot, but in return, you can make so much more in this field. It really is unlimited when you think about it in the scope of maybe starting your own business one day, but that's later talks. So yeah, if if you can, really hone in on one, learn your electrical, then you start learning more of the programming side, and then you're putting all those together, and then eventually you can become that engineer, which is what I'm training to do now. Or you could be a controls tech, which is fine too. And it's just where you want to go with it. That's why I think this field is really good. If you are looking to go to school, look for things like mechatronics. If they have most places don't have a PLC engineering or automation engineering degree. But if you can find that, that would probably be great. Industrial engineering is okay, but it teaches you more of the business side and logistics of an industrial place, and not as much of like hands-on, okay, I'm a programmer as an industrial engineer. That's just not how that works. It sounds like it should, but no. So if you could get your hands on anything mechatronics, you'll learn about robotics, electrical, programming, everything like that in that, but it gives you a broad range. And then that automation engineering would be more in detail of exactly what controls is. So if you did want to go the school route, you could. And I did a mechatronics degree, mechatronics engineer, and that is how I broke into the field and kept working my way up the way I just listed before. And you can make great money in this field. Starting out, it won't be as good as, you know, as your later years. But like I said, it's unlimited. If you start your own firm, your own business, once you get your engineering degree, that I would recommend getting your degree just so you can look more official. And you go further and further with that. It really is unlimited. And even as those engineering roles, I was just talking to one of my engineers that I work for, and he was making 180 plus a year. This was working for somebody. So, I mean, if most jobs, you're not going to make that. It's just unheard of. So definitely give it a shot. If you're interested, you might be sitting at home. You just graduated from school and you don't know what to do. That's why I really wanted to make this video, for someone who doesn't know. It's just something to look into. I didn't go into much depth. Just take some of the things that I did go into depth and research. And if you do have any questions from me personally, leave it in the comment section below. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out.